Real addicts to another episode. Today we're out here in the surf. I'm out here with my friend Perdido Blaine. You guys check him out. He fishes a lot of the same areas as I do. Surf fishing here in Perdido, Pensacola Beach, Navarre, Alabama. So you guys been watching me catching a lot of red, black drums, whiting, pompano. So I wanted to share with y'all 8 tips on how to catch more fish in the surf in 2021. So if it's your first time going out there, this tip will help you out. If you're not catching as many fish, this video will help you out. So before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to Leadhead Outfitters. You guys want to check him out? He's leaving his link down below. Thank you for sending me this awesome gear for this cold. It is 30 degrees. So if this is your first time visiting the channel, help me out. Hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy this video, hit the like button. And also check out Perdido Blaine. He's linked down below. So enough talking, let's get this adventure started. And hopefully these tips will help you out. All right, y'all, we're gonna get started on the first tip, and might be the most important tip, whether it will determine if you catching fish or not catching fish, is location. What I mean by location is getting a good spot where it's a deep cut and a deep hole, not sandbars that are close. Now, if you're fishing 2 sandbars, you could do that, but if you guys want a higher chance of catching more fish, is fishing a cut. Now I'm going to show you, for example, on the background behind me after this, which I'll show you to why to fish those cuts. Main example is you're going to have fish run off those sandbars into the cuts. For example, pompanos, when they're running, red drums, black drums, whitings. As you guys can see right behind me, there is a sandbar and we're fishing the deep cut. You'll see over there is a deep sandbar. So right here, this cut is a perfect example on location. So before you guys go out there and set up your rods and set up your gear and spend about 30 minutes setting up, make sure you guys pick the first location that has a deep cut to increase your chances, especially when the pompanos start running and the reds, black drums, and whitings. It will increase your chances. If you guys watch a lot of my videos, I do get on a lot of fish, so this will help you out. So we're getting into tip number 2. We'll get into it right now. So we're getting into tip number 2, which is depth. After you pick your location, depth is going to be another key to getting you more fish. Is basically what I do. I'm running 4 rods today. Sometimes I run 3, sometimes I run 5, depending if I'm running a charter or bringing down some friends or myself fishing. I want to have a higher chance of getting fish. So an example is I'm running my 10-foot rod on a 30-yard. This rod is about, I would say, about 60 yards. And as you guys saw me, this was the long, deep one. Why do I do this? Sometimes the fish will be very up close. For example, I've caught my best year this year with pompano. All the pompanos I caught were caught in a 30-yard line. I was casting out there a few times, 50, 60. When I realized, after catching the first pompano very close, I brought all the rods in and had one of the best years. Just like last week, you guys saw that black drum. We cast it out very close and got a nice black drum. If they're not out far, then you throw out another rod. Some days they will hit farther, some days will hit closer. That's why you cover all these depths. Like I said, 30 yard, 60, and a very deep one. If you're fishing 2 rods, for example, have 1 rod up close and 1 out very far. This way you can find the fish and have a higher chance. So that's tip number 2. We're gonna get into tip number 3, which is the bait of choice and how to hook them up. All right, we're getting into tip number 3, which is rig setup. There's 3 rig setups that I use when surf fishing that y'all can use if you're going out for the first time or having trouble. So my first setup is called a bottom rig. Basically, it sits on the bottom. I use a chunk of we'll get into the baits later, but I'm making an example here. I'm using blue crab. I'm using mullet on those, and I'll show you the next two rigs. This is called a bottom rig. I have this set up today with a 3 ounce because it's not too rough today. And a short line. This is a little trick that I learned from this guy in Outer Banks. Great fisherman. Had a lot of record redfish caught where I was there. So if you guys are doing a bottom rig, you guys don't need a long leader line. Use a small one. It'll even give you a longer distance if you're throwing it out there. So if you're having a big old mullet chunk and it's not swinging far enough, this will definitely help you. Rig number one, we'll get into rig number two now. Let me just throw it out there for a quick and I'll show you guys an example why I use short distance. This is the second rig we use, mainly for pompanos, even black drums. I even caught double reds on this one. It's called a pompano rig. I personally use the Frisky Fins pompano rigs. You can see it's a double one, but you guys can either make your own. I'm fishing a 3 ounce. This is the second rig. Pompanos, I had a great year using them. Frisky Fins, check them out on Facebook or Instagram. Or you can also make your own at home. 20-pound leader line for pompanos. Any day you guys have a clear day, 20-pound leader line is best. There it is. We're using shrimp and fish gum. For example, we'll get into that next for the bait. That's rig number 2, pompano rig. Right, addicts. This is the third rig that I use. It's called a dropper rig. Basically almost like a pompano rig, but these I use for the cool reds and big black drums. We'll get into the bait. Basically, weights in at the bottom and a big old hook. I use a 5/0 hooks. That's what I use for the reds and the black drums or any type of big fish. I'm using mullet on this one. It's called a dropper rig. This one sits in the middle and helps it not the crabs hitting off the bottom, like the bottom rig. So we got the Frisky Fins pompano rigs. We got the dropper rig right here and the bottom rig. Those are the 3 setups you guys can use when surf fishing. Now let's get into the bait of choices y'all can use when surf fishing. This was mullet. All right, we're getting into the bait of choices for surf fishing. So I don't know if you guys saw the tips. I'm running 4 rods today. You guys want to present these fish with different baits. Will increase your chances. Now, if you guys don't have the choices, main things you can do is shrimp and sand fleas, but I'm gonna set you guys off. First rod I have is sand fleas. Second rod I have is shrimp. Third rod I have is blue crab, and the fourth one is mullet. Try to have a variety of bait for those fish. Like I said, sometimes they'll eat shrimp, sometimes they eat sand fleas, sometimes they switch up the diet. So the 5 baits you guys can use are shrimp, sand fleas, blue crab, mullet, and if you catch a whiting, cut them up, chunk them out there, and you definitely give a chance of even catching a shark or a big bull red. And I've even caught one with a black drum with a whiting. So those 5 baits will help you guys out. Now let's move on to the next tip. All right, tip number 5 for y'all is rods and reels. An example, I'm running the 12-foot rod. There's 3 sizes you can use for surf fishing: 10 feet, 11 feet, and for the longer distances, the 12. Those are 3 rods you guys can use when surf fishing. There's many different type of rods you guys can use. If you guys are looking for some, I'm gonna be leaving that link down below to some of the rods that I use. I have a good variety, and I made a video that has been watched a lot. So if you guys want to check that video out, I'll leave it in the comment section. Now reels, I definitely do recommend for y'all from 5,000 all the way to 8,000. Anything over that is just exaggeration, unless you're shark fishing, then you're using something bigger. But my recommendation to y'all are 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. Me, for example, I run a 5,000, a 6,500, and an 8,000 if I'm fishing 3 rods. Only because you never know if you're gonna land a shark by mistake or a big bull red. If you guys saw the episode that I did, caught my biggest red on the 8,000. You always want to be prepared for that big bite. And even a 5,000 will get it, but it'll give you a longer fight and higher chances of breaking it. So, like I said, 5,000 to 8,000, 5,000 to 8,000, 10 foot to 12 foot rods. Let's get on with the next tip. All right, next tip is line capacity. When you're surf fishing, you don't need 60-pound line. Like I tell people, surf fishing is a little different. There's really not any structure here, any jetties, so you don't need 60 pounds. Believe it or not, you actually get longer casting distance and even more line on your reels. For example, some of the rods say 20 pounds up to 400 yards, 60 pounds up to 300. So you guys want to cover as much yards as you can, because you never know when you get that big bite and you're gonna leave that line. So all my rods and reels are on 30 pounds to 20 pounds. You don't need 50, you don't need 60. It took me a long time to learn it, and I learned it this year, and it's helped me a lot. Another thing is weights. When you're fishing, your egg weights, your sinkers, your pyramid weights, is fish accordingly until the day that you're fishing. So if you're having a rough day, you're gonna use the 5 to 6. Anything after that, no point in fishing. Now, if you're having a day like this, you can fish 2 to 3 ounces. So make sure you guys are seeing what type of day you guys are having and prepare for that. Weights, 2 to 3 on the slow days, on heavier days, 5 to 6, and it will definitely help you guys catch more fish. So we're gonna get into the last tip of this video, and we're gonna get out there. All right, we're getting to the next tip. Me and Blaine today are fishing 2 hours before high tide. If you guys never studied the tide chart, make sure you guys download as many apps on there. For example, Tide for Charts, High Tide Charts. What I mean by that, and it will increase your chances of catching more fish on this matter, and definitely helped me out this year when I really got into it, is when you're fishing a tide, always fish them 2 hours before. Why do I do that? There's a lot of higher chances. Moving water, fish are moving around. They get a little hungry. Me personally, I fish 2 hours before high tide, or 3 hours. This way, when high tide peaks and there's moving waters, I usually get a good, nice bite. So you guys are going out for the first time or having problems, make sure you guys fish those tides for charts and look them up. Look up your high tide, look at your low tide, and look up where the dead period is. You guys don't want to be caught out there in a dead period, because most likely you will not catch fish. So make sure you guys study that and download that app, or look up online. Tide for charts or high tides. We're getting to the last tip, and the best part about this tip is make sure you guys have fun out there. Go out fishing with some friends. I'm here with Perdido Blaine. Check them out. We're gonna get back out here. Hopefully we get on some fish today. We're addicts. Hope all these tips helped you guys out. And if you guys get on a big fish, hit that thumbs up. If it helps you guys on the video, we'll see you guys next week. We're gonna go back out here and enjoy some time with some friends, and hopefully we get on some fish. Until next week, keep on fishing.